Hello, my name is Jocelyn Contreras, and today I'm going to be talking about the article Farm Labor Supply, Fruit and Vegetable Production by Zachariah Rutledge and Pierre Merrill. So basically, the purpose of this journal, it serves three main purposes, which just extends literature on U.S. farm labor, provides a direct economic bound on the elasticity of labor-intensive crop production with respect to the farm labor supply, and demonstrates a novel use of equilibrium displacement framework that could be adapted to a variety of settings and data. So, just to give some context of the data and the study and the research that has been done by the two authors, is that it provides econometric estimates of the effects of reductions in farm labor supply on the production of hand harvested fruits and vegetables. Using crop production and employment data from California counties, we are going to estimate panel regression data that's going to link farm employment to crop production outcomes. Oh, for more context, the reason why that we are looking into this and why it's an issue to begin with is that many American farmers have reported a decrease in farm labor shortages and think that this can be a cause for decreased production on their end. So, reasons for farm worker shortages are tied to but not limited to mechanization, imports, and labor availability. Later, we're going to go into more shocks that affect farm worker labor, the labor supply, and we're going to look into that. This article overall, it's going to estimate the elasticity of hand harvested crops and with respect to farm labor. So we're going to look at that in a little bit. So when looking at why we chose our data and where we got our data from, we got all of our data is going to be from California because California is a natural setting for this type of analysis because it produces 1/3 of domestic vegetables and 2/3 of domestic fruits and nuts in the United States. Additionally, it's the largest agricultural employer in the nation with their labor expenses accounting for about 1/3 of the US total expenditures. Another thing to take note of is that the agricultural workforce is mostly composed of Mexican laborers for the farm supply. So California is right next door. So this is what we're going to look at. Our data is based, we're going to have three data sets that we're going to base our results on. It's going to be just crop production, farm employment, and the weather. So a little bit more about our data and the model that we're going to use to interpret the results in this paper. So basically we're going to look at crop employment. The crop employment is going to be our explanatory variable throughout the research in this paper. And the shocks that we're going to look at specifically, we're going to look at how labor supply shocks to the supply of other inputs, output demand shocks, and technological shocks jointly affect equilibrium quantities and prices within farm labor markets, and how these contribute to the correlation between crop output and equilibrium employment. And in this, we're going to use a equilibrium displacement framework. So basically, an equilibrium displacement framework. The article did give me more information about it, although it's a little bit out of my knowledge and what I do know. But basically, what it does is it provides a set of reduced form equations that account for the structural relationship across markets for the quantity of labor and the supply. This expression is a function of parameters and also includes elasticities, although we do not know to what magnitudes they are specifically. Additionally, our panel data is going to include different types of time period data within it. So it's going to have yearly data on yearly effects, quarterly quadratic county level trends, and monthly temperature / precipitation information. So our model, in our empirical analysis, we're going to the authors regress agricultural production outcomes on equilibrium farm employment. So that's what we're doing. We're regressing those two dependent and independent variables. So basically what we're going to do is evaluate the effects of unobserved market and technology shocks on these equilibrium outcomes and see how they're displaced when we do experience these shocks. So basically our model, basic things that we are going to know. It's going to get a lot more complex, but this is something that was 100% familiar to me. So we're going to start off with Q. That's just going to be the quantity of a good. Our quantity of a specific good, which in this case is going to be the hand-harvested fruits and vegetables, is going to be composed of it's going to be like a function of labor and non-labor inputs, and the function QAB is going to be the aggregate county level production. P is going to be our output price, and then P subscript A is going to be the price of the input of labor. So there is more numbers and equations that was given along in this paper. However, I'm just going to give like a summary of the most important formulas that they led. So basically this is going to be the logarithmic differential. This equation right here is going to show the logarithmic differential change in the equilibrium output, and which is a result from a series of extraneous shocks that affect the equilibrium. Additionally, through our model, through the math that the authors got, this is going to be our equilibrium. So some of the shocks that we face that the article looks more into are going to be these four specifically. So beta is going to be represented by shifts in the labor supply curve. Gamma is going to be representing shifts in the non-labor input supply. Alpha is going to be shifts in crop output demand, and delta is going to be productivity shocks. So these are going to be the resulting reduced form equations once we look into all the data and the information that we got through the models. And then going into a more like kind of general knowledge. This is a little bit outside of my scope and the scope that we learned in the class. So I'm going to go a little bit more into some general economic intuition type of things right now. So next, we're just going to look at the basic supply and demand curve, and how their elasticities are going to affect the equilibrium, and how the equilibrium is the place. So in the first one, we're going to have an it's going to be an upwards sloping labor supply and a downward sloping demand. So that's just going to be our usual, typical Econ 1 type of supply and demand, and then just show how a decrease in supply is going to affect the equilibrium. So once it shifts left, it's going to decrease quantity and increase price of this labor. Additionally, in the image B, it's going to show when labor is perfectly inelastic, and how changes in this labor are going to affect additionally the equilibrium price. So it's going to shift to the left again, decreasing supply, increasing price, decreasing quantity, increasing price. And additionally, what's going to happen when we do have a perfectly elastic labor demand, a shift in supply is going to result in the same price of labor, however, a smaller quantity. And then after acquiring the data that we're going to use in our model, this was the results that we got. Basically, how our the amount of crop workers have decreased in the last 30 so years. We look at this data, and we do look at more data that we're given. Additionally, our empirical strategy, sorry. The results of this study show that A 10% decrease in farm labor supply caused about a 4.2 decrease in hand harvested fruits and vegetable productions within the top 10 producing counties. This reduced production is so this is what we were shown through the data when they did the regressions, as well as using and comparing the information between shocks and different counties. The data provided us with production, harvested acres, correlation, yield, among the top 10 counties within California. And this was the results of this study. Overall, after looking at the results, we were able to also make another assumption that another reason why reduced production is primarily caused by decrease in the number of acres harvested. A decrease in this acres is another factor. This shock also increases the supply of demand labor. And then really briefly before we end, I just wanted to say how this relates to my paper topic and what we have learned in class. A model that I would use in class to kind of relate to what was shown in this paper would be the difference model, basically showing how changes I would probably pick a specific county to look at and how a change in when like a specific shock happens, such as like the introduction of a new technology on a certain county, how this changes the production level before and after. This is probably what I would use given what we've learned in class. In addition, this just relates to my research topic because I'm interested in looking at farm labor within United States, primarily California, and how changes in wages and or quantities are going to affect the production levels within within the county. So yeah, thank you so much for listening. Ooh, stop recording.